Hello.
We're live. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for giving us your Tuesday evening here on June 16th. This is the fourth installment of Making Waves, the Q&A session with an artist who has been on Shiprocked prior. Anyway, my name is Justin, and I'm along here with your host, Chad Nicefield and Van Wilson. You guys know Chad. And we are lucky this week to have our good friend Tyler from the band Goodbye June with us. Thank you, Tyler, for taking the time to spend with us and the Shiprocked family.
Happy to be here, guys. Happy to be here.
So
How you feeling?
This is the first time you've joined us for Making Waves. Premise here is we're going to talk to Tyler about music, his influences, touring, life in a band, and also his Shiprock experience. And then also, guys, if you're following along in comments and you have some questions for Tyler, please do put those there and we'll go ahead and get those and we'll pose those to Tyler. But what I'm going to do here is just check out and let Chad and Tyler talk about music. Go away, guys.
Hi, Tyler.
What's up, Chad?
I got to divulge some very juicy information to you about myself and being a super fan of your band. So now that you know that my weak spot, what kind of guitar is that you're playing right now?
This Chad is a early 2000s. It's called an Alvarez Yari. It's a handmade Japan. This was my first guitar purchase, a big boy purchase like this. You know, back in the day, it cost like I think $1,400. I did a lot of graveyards and bought this was my first guitar. Is what I've written almost every Goodbye June song on.
Nice.
Yeah, so this is my baby.
So let me ask you this: where are you originally from? Are you originally from Nashville?
No, I'm from southern Indiana.
Okay.
About 3.5 hours. About 3.5 hours north of Nashville. The town called Hillham, like population like 50 people. So
okay,
that's where I'm from.
So how far would that be from Terre Haute?
About 2.5, 3 hours.
Okay, so not close at all. I just spent a lot of really uncomfortable time in Terre Haute, and I was going to ask you about a specific restaurant that I enjoyed going to and getting drunk at when I was uncomfortably stuck there for a couple of weeks with some friends. With the band while we were staying with our tour manager who was from there. But yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So southern Indiana, I would have to imagine being in a small town and being so close to Nashville that it was probably your first choice of where to exit and find your wings as a songwriter and a band guy.
Right.
Is Goodbye June your first band? Did you guys move together, that sort of thing?
So I'm in a band with my two cousins, Landon and Brandon. They're my cousins, and they grew up in West Tennessee. They were they moved around a lot. They were grew up very religious. Their Landon's dad was a youth pastor or music minister, and Brandon's dad was a preacher. They moved around a lot. Didn't really have a home, but they settled in West Tennessee for probably 4 to 6 years. They were there. I don't remember, but about the time I was getting out of high school, they had a band. I forgot what their band name was. They had always wanted me to come and join their band, and so we started getting together and writing music, and you know, as things progress, and we decided this was something we really wanted to pursue. To get three, you know, where can we go? You know, where's the closest musical? It's like Nashville was the, you know, best choice, because from our perspective, a lot of bands that you know, back when we first moved here in 2009, like a lot of bands moved up to, like, you know, Kings of Leon, Jack White, Black Keys, they were all here, and so we thought that was the place that we should, you know.
Yeah.
So we moved in 2000, and been plugging away ever since, man.
So wow, so you've been there. You've been in Nashville. You said you were in East Nashville since 2009. Did I hear correct?
Yes.
Well, I moving from that, because it's interesting. I love Nashville, right? And as a guy, I'm from Michigan. I live in Detroit. I was born in a small town called Port Huron, Michigan. My first idea of making it was to go to Detroit, where I didn't make it and had to essentially do a lot more traveling in my life in order for anybody to pay attention. But you hoot and holler as much as you possibly could until somebody paid attention. And I would have to ask you, like, because I'm going to transition this into Justin asking you about how you got onto Shiprock, but I wanted to ask, like, when you start a band, which is essentially a family unit, and you are moving together to achieve a goal, there's probably going to be a lot of camaraderie you have to kind of go through, and uncomfortable camaraderie that you have to figure out, because not only do you share the same blood, but you also share the same vision, which you think at least you think you share the same vision. When you got to Nashville and you were starting to make some noise, did you have to play what I would assume would be like a slew of just the Nashville grind gigs before anybody actually took notice? Like, I just don't understand. Everybody I know that lives in Nashville are like implanted there because they've already done something and are working in the studio, or, you know, their band is situated there, you know?
They're somewhat established. They have some sort of network they can, you know, create music.
Like, yeah. And to see that's so competitive, because it is a musical gold mine there, you know?
Yeah, man. Well, to kind of answer, I think the question, maybe like, you know, how did Good Vibes Union get noticed in the early days? So we moved down in 2009. We all took day jobs, working 40, 50 hours a week. And then at night, we would get together in Landon and Brandon's apartment and write songs.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it, you know, 3-4 nights a week kind of thing. From a couple homemade demos. And then we kind of just handed them around to people, and we found this producer that dug it, and then he had a studio down on Music Row, and he let us what he let us do is he let us come in at night and cut demos and practice and rehearse and just have a creative space after work hours. So after our jobs, we'd go straight there, get a 12-pack of beer, and just work until, you know, 10, 11 p.m. ish, and then go home, go to bed, do it all again. We did that for about 2 years. I think we have about 80 songs from that era. So a lot of songwriting.
80 songs for over the course of 2 years in Nashville after work.
Dude, I could show you. I have them on my iPhone. Like, it's just, some of them will never ever see the light of day. Some of them get like we Frankenstein cool riffs, you know.
Yeah.
You know, like, oh, remember that riff? That was a cool riff. Let's steal it. You know, and then some of them will never live, you know.
Sure.
But
that's great. That's crazy.
There's one record. There's always one per record that make it. And well, actually the last one on Community Inn, there was 3. There was Universal Mega Love, Rolling Off My Tongue, and Free Child. Were those songs were older than our first record, Magic Valley.
Frankenstein the pieces together.
I mean, you know, re-envisioned it. I mean, you ain't gonna play the song the same as you know, as a musician 6 years later. So you those are kind of the modern updated versions of the demos, you know, those days. So
Hey, Tyler, I had a quick question for myself, and then if we don't mind, it's something that kind of connects to a question from one of our Shiprock followers right now. What's it like? What are the chances of another band from Tennessee being family members, much like Kings of Leon? You guys are like another band where cousins are playing together. What are was that it? Did you guys ever come across like, oh my God, how did that happen?
Well, what I'm about to tell you is going to blow your mind even more. Is that the Kings of Leon guys? When I said Landon and Brandon grew in West Tennessee, all of them, Caleb and Nathan, the oldest brother, and then Caleb, the lead singer, and Jared, and the youngest brother. They all went to this private church school that had the entire school had about 27 people in it, and they were there. And my cousins Landon and Brandon also went there, so they used to play basketball together in a school of people. I mean, it's mind blowing. Like, and it's like the two bands came from that, and I mean, it makes a lot of sense because that church that they went to was like incredible music. Because Landon's dad did music at the church, and he was this big gospel choir director. So he had all the best musicians in West Tennessee to come and play, and like Caleb sang choir, my Landon sang in the choir. Like, I think Brandon might have played drums at some point in the choir. I know Nathan Followell, he played drums in it. Like, it's mind blowing that those two things intersected in such a small,
And the fact that you guys kind of actually share a sound that could be, you guys are similar as certain aspects. So it's kind of interesting. Obviously, I think that has a lot to do with Tennessee and everything else as far as that's concerned. Well, we had a question from Randy, one of our shiprockers. She wants to know, what are the downsides of being in a band with family?
Well,
I want to know too. I'm very
here is the blessing and the curse. The curse is that you're still gonna have Thanksgiving with them. So if everything's going great and you're high-fiving and life is great, then it's awesome. And when things are maybe not so tough, or there's some friction, you're still gonna have Thanksgiving with them. So I mean, I always find that as like a good thing, and we get along really, really well. We all share pretty similar backgrounds, and like we have very similar views on music and like what we value, and so we get along pretty well. I mean, we've had a handful of knockout drag out fights, but I mean, what family, what brothers haven't? So yeah, and it's good. The downsides is you have to have Thanksgiving with them, regardless of if the fight was resolved. That's the answer to the question. There you go.
Yeah. You have to cut that friggin' awkward with a knife. When you're sitting down at the table. And it could just be great. Could be great awkward. I would assume that like the greatness that you just came off of on a tour, right? And like just some fucked up shit about each other, but like a good fucked up shit about each other. And you're just sitting at the family table, like waiting for that motherfucker to say something about it,
So,
or we're both very much avoiding a certain topic together. We don't want to talk about what happened in Asheville.
Yeah.
With that said, we're going to skip around here. There's going to be zero continuity to our discussion today, but I really wanted to come back to, you were mentioning before we started the interesting story about how you and Alan, the captain and producer Shiprock, got together and how you guys came to be.
Can I ask one thing before you do that? Because I'm sure it segues in, but I think we got to a certain spot, and I wanted to know specifically, this may be selfish, but in of all of that, through the family, moving, doing all of that stuff, I heard your first EP, I was super, super attracted to the sound that you were making, right? I was like, this fucking band rules. And then fast forward about 2 years after that, you're on Shiprock with me, and I kind of wanted to know, can you segue into like before you met Alan, something had to happen, and then going into meeting Alan, and then we get to talk to you.
Okay. I'll give kind of the like a real brief synopsis of kind of Goodbye June's journey, right? So we moved to Nashville, working full-time jobs, and we had this span of 2, 3, 4 years where we're working full-time jobs and we were writing all these songs, right? And then, in true Nashville form, we found some business partners, a publisher who, we worked out a business arrangement with, and that allowed us to not have to work full-time jobs anymore. So very common, like songwriters, that's why we were writing so many songs. That's why we were just trying to immerse ourselves in that community. So once that happened, it really allowed us to dive into becoming a live band and performing out. So Nashville, there's a circuit of about 5 or 6 that and there's like 2 or 3 or 4 tastemakers in the rock world that if you get the clubs and you get the tastemakers, and you're doing your job and writing good songs, like you will see great opportunities start coming in, right? So
Right.
so we through luck, skill, good timing, devilishly handsome. I don't know why, but
Throw that in there.
joke.
Yeah.
Mega handsome.
Yeah.
No. I mean, we kind of found, we put all those pieces together, so and through that, all of a sudden we started making relationships with some different songwriters and producers in town, and we linked up in that time with the producer first record. His name's Paul Moak, and who's a great writer in town and a great just a great spirit. He's a champion of rock, I would say. Like he's a great rock producer, and he let us use the studio kind of on a handshake thing, and we ended up cutting Magic Valley, the first 13 songs of Magic Valley, and then I think we cut like 8 more songs later, and then through that process we had some label record label interest, and we ended up signing with Interscope Records for Magic Valley, and then from there, what I've learned with Goodbye June, at least, is like it's like your manager and all these guys and all your business partners, that of course they're a part of your success and they're a part of your failure too, but like it's really the relationships that you make with other bands and other people in the industry that, like, I mean, most of the major tours that we've been on has been because other bands like our, and we end up hanging out at a bar one night, and it's like, hey, you guys going on tour? Come on. And it's like, okay, cool, we'll be there. Like our first big tour was ZZ Top. That was our first big opportunity. That was from our manager. He had showed ZZ's manager our first EP, and they loved it, and they had us open for him. And from that, we met up with some guys, Willie Myers, that we just connected with, and that have became great friends of ours. And so it's, and then it just keeps going, like Greta Van Fleet and all those guys. It's really just guys that we've connected with over music and then have become good friends with. So,
well, those are all tours too that make absolute sense, especially ZZ. I mean, their audience would gravitate to you because at some point they're going to be looking for their next ZZ Top to pay attention to once ZZ calls it a day. And there's Goodbye June that kind of fits that bill for them. So, and you're wearing the shirt, so props to you, brother. Have you seen seen the documentary that just came out?
Yeah.
Perfection.
Dude, I love Frank Beard. The line when he's on the couch and he's like, yeah, man. He's like, I just had my first kid, and I just started taking LSD. And he's like, like things were changing.
His love of heroin was like, he had no problems talking about how much he loved his drug take. He wasn't apologetic about it. He just said, I just outgrew it. Yeah, it's amazing.
So you met Alan through this, or I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt that question, Justin, but
sorry. So
here comes
so here's the quick version is so we started touring. We started touring heavily. We started being, open band, right? First of 3, second of 3, for a lot of different bands. And we, in that journey, we did a co-headline with a band called Bad Flower, who was on Rock. It's been on Rock a couple times, who became good friends of ours. Me and Joey, we've done many in the last, over quarantine. We did a bunch of live because he was staying with me at my house. So
drugs.
he would get mammered and go on Facebook Live, and then we call like John Nato and make fun of him or something from Dirty Honey.
Cool. Yeah.
we love those guys.
Yeah.
I love John. So what's happening was Bad Flower was coming through town, and they were playing a venue, and we were just backstage drinking with them. We were not playing. We were just there as fans and enjoying the show and just hanging out. So Alan was there. And I didn't know who Alan was. I didn't know you know, his relationship with Bad Flower. I had no, there's just, you know, there's always people in the green room, you know, and you just nice to everybody. So Alan's there, and he's talking with Josh Katz, lead singer, and I'm sitting across the table from him, just having a beer, not really paying attention. And he said, "Hey man, you gotta get on Shiprock this year. We want you back on. Excited to have you back on." And Josh is like, he looks over at me and he said, "Tyler," said, "You guys want to play Shiprock?" I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "You get Goodbye June to play it." And Alan looks at me and says, "You're in Goodbye June?" And I said, "Yeah." He's like, "Dude, I'm a huge fan." I was like, "Oh, thanks, man." I was like, "Cool." He's like, "Do you guys want to play Shiprock?" I was like, I was like, "Yeah." And like that night, 2 bands, you know, like,
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah." Like, "Yeah, sure, we'll play." And I said, "We'll play. Bad Flower plays. You get those guys to play, we'll play." So I put it back on.
Yeah, that's awesome. I had no idea. I mean,
use the leverage. Use the leverage when you can. So good for you guys. That's amazing.
yeah. I mean, to speak on Josh and speak on Bad Flower, and mostly to speak on the ship, segueing into that. Now you're part of our family, right? I started. The only reason why I'm here is because I somehow managed to convince our agent to send a crazy video of my band playing to Shiprock, Alan, and everybody over there, because I was like begging to get on it. I saw some other band friends were playing it, and Alan took a chance and said yes, put us on the ship, and we went and played that first year, and my life has never been the same ever since. And you know, speaking from, I mean, at that point in time, our band, though we had came from other walks of life and been in other bands that have toured and done things, it was not what it is today. It was just like, we're just some scraggly fucks that from Detroit that have beards that showed up on this. At the time, we all had huge beards, you know, showed up on this ship, and it was overwhelming. We were super overwhelmed, right? Moving forward from that, we were a little bit above the top party people, you know, and happened to have a lot of great times and great oldies with all of the folks on the ship.
Not Wilson, the band Wilson.
Yeah.
Band Wilson's party people.
Yeah. Like diarrhea in your underwear, you just can't wash that stain out. We just stuck around, right? And because of that, like you said, with Josh being like,
that's your analogy.
Yeah. We just can't get out. You just can't wash this right out of the whites. You know, with you and Josh, right, and them having that conversation, that same situation has happened for our band. Not the same exact version of it, but we've shared the stage and or brought attention to the stage, to the ship, by going out with other bands or being asked to be gone out with other bands, and vice versa. We've gotten to go out, tour with tons of fucking bands because of that moment, that first ship. So welcome to the family, A, and B, that's so cool to hear that another band, whether it was joking or not, was in the moment in Alan's face. And I know Alan's a huge fan of you. I knew he was a huge fan of you before you even played the show, because we talk pretty much on a weekly basis about new bands, new rock bands, things that are coming up. And we were gushing over you guys. It's cool to see it work out like that. I didn't know that story.
Yeah.
So speaking of fans, real quick, I'm gonna quickly interject here. You know, I gotta be honest. When you guys played the Ships, first time I saw you, it's the first time I ever seen you live and really kind of take you in. And then, obviously, when I knew you were coming on this, I kind of started ingesting you. And today we just kind of cranked you guys on Spotify all day. And I'm serious.
Very sexual, by the way, Justin. I don't want to interrupt, but that's super sexual definition.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. No, we're super addicted to you now, and I kind of like just to know, like, who influenced you growing up, and you guys kind of created the sound. And obviously, there's touchstones for what you guys do. There's, like, you know, obviously Zeppelin, how you guys can able to segue between the rockers and stompers to something a little bit more like Darlin off of Magic Valley. That's just like, it's something I would have heard on Led Zeppelin 3, right? And and or like, you know, oh no, it's like, that sounds like Braun Stomp. And it's just like, so there's these checkpoints for me in my head going, okay, I kind of see where that came from, but you guys have taken your influences but not let them overcome you. Some bands like get just beat up by their influences to the point like, where's their sound? but you guys have kind of sidestepped that, and it's completely original, but you've taken enough influences and created a sound. And I just kind of want to know what influenced you growing up, what got you into music, and then and then how you guys have moved forward from like Magic Valley to Community Inn.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Well,
I'm sorry. I just ramble.
Oh no, it's good. No, it's a great question. Great question. So what I'll do is I'll give you a very brief kind of my take on like Brandon's kind of thing. I'll do 30 seconds on that, and I'll talk about mine because I know that better. But Landon and Brandon grew up in the church. They weren't allowed to listen to secular music. They didn't have TV really. So their early influences was all Southern gospel, like any range of gospel. So very funky, very interesting, different things. And what happened was adults, when we moved to Nashville, they were kind of they shed their former life, I would say, and they were open to all the classic rock, all the modern rock. Like we got really into like Cage the Elephant and Jack White and Black Keys and Kings of Leon and lots of bands like that. But really, those guys had the opportunity as grown men to listen to Led Zeppelin for the first time. They had never really. I mean, they might have heard something, on classic radio, but they got to all the records, and they would say right now that one of the big moments was they had a little lake house on the outskirts of town by Percy Priest Lake, and we go there all the time and jam after we got signed to a publishing deal. So we had a lot of free time, so we'd go spend it out on the lake. And my parents, I grew up on like CCR, Leon Russell, ZZ Top, like the Trace Hombres record that was played all the time in my house. Anything Southern rock or whatever you want to call it was played in the Baker household, right? So I brought down a Leon Russell record form because I just bought a record machine. So I said, guys, check this out, Will of the Wisp. And I gave it to him. Mom and Dad just said, just let them have it. They'll enjoy it. And so not to speak for them, but it seems like that era, that months of consuming all this music and all this new music and all the classics, and they would say that Leon Russell record, Will of the Wisp, like really propelled them like this musical journey. Like when they pick up guitars and play drums and do whatever, it changed their way of thinking. So that was a big part of the sound. And then me, I think I injected a lot of blues, and I mean, I cut my teeth on like the Three Kings, like Albert, Freddie, and BB. Like I loved them like that. Those are my guys. Like everything. Like Going Down is one of my favorite freaking songs of all time. But I was real heavy in blues. It just spoke to me. I was a guitar player. I'd always played guitar growing up, and I loved, those blues leads. And so it's kind of when our forces combined, I think. You got Magic Valley. So I feel like Magic Valley community and both kind of have this, I think, wide net in the sense of, to me, you hear like some Led Zeppelin, but you kind of also hear just a little bit of Beatles, like trying to creep in, and then a little bit of, like you said, like Kings of Leon, like that kind of thing, like that Southern Dixie style rock. I think that's always creeping around in the foundation of our sound. So that's how to. And now what's funny is we're working on our third record, and I'm not going to say it's changing completely by any means. It's not, but it's, we're even forward further deeper into another direction, so our sound is still kind of evolving and moving together in ways.
You guys haven't really settled on a sound, but it's funny you mentioned Trace Hombres because quite honestly, that is required listening in every household.
Yeah. I listened to it growing up.
Yeah, it's like basically if you got to have that record for yourself and your kids to both explore together. One band funny you mentioned the Beatles because I was listening to the new album and I was like, there's a couple of songs and you know that English band Keane.
Yeah.
There's a few of the vocal things. I was walking through their house. I was going, God damn, that sounds like Keane. So I mean, it's just like you guys have gravitated towards this English sound as well to kind of meld with this American blues, which it quite honestly is just. It sounds like an old formula, but it sounds so damn refreshing in 2020.
Oh,
So,
thanks, man.
Kudos
It's
that.
Thanks. I like to think paint ourselves. So I don't know if we could. We're painfully ourselves. So I don't think we could sound any different if we wanted to. So we're just. It's a pot of blending. We're just blending a good go for you.
Well, that actually kind of fit in what your answer about what you guys kind of grew up with. So Todd from Shiprock had a question about what influenced you. So Todd, I hope, my friend, that answered your question. I'm gonna let Chad talk some because I'm sure he's got plenty of questions.
I mean, I was going to ask something similar. Like you guys, it's so fascinating, and not to take us back a step to you as a family unit coming there, but knowing that you kind of, even though you're a little different on the stylistic like spaces of what brought you what you were brought up listening to, kind of feels in the same wheelhouse. And especially I didn't even think about the idea of like not hearing some of this music until you were essentially an adult in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah.
With your cousins. Do your what does their family or your family like think about coming from that area of the world and the religious upbringing? What do they think about you guys being three people in a band moving forward? It's like, for instance, also in and of that, did the people of the church that had formed their own bands, and I think there was a few other maybe acts that came out of that space, I'm not sure, but did they kind of like pave the way for to be okay with your family, or how does that work? Well, your family's probably maybe a little different.
No, so what I would say is that it's been a long process from the very beginning of by June till now. And in the beginning, there's a lot of resistance and friction and talk of, it's a phase. Yeah. It's just a phase. They'll get out of it. They'll come back. They'll, whatever. It's kind of that mentality. So there's a lot of friction, in the families. My family was always pretty liberal on the music side. Obviously, I mean, my parents let me listen to ZZ Top and let me listen to CCR, two of my favorite bands. And but Landon Brand, not so much. So I would say my family is conservative. Theirs, I would consider ultra conservative. They couldn't wear pants or they couldn't wear shorts. They couldn't go to the movies. Like me, I just felt really bad when I wore shorts. But I still wore them. I just thought I was going to hell.
Because you have sexy thighs, or
what?
Because of your sexy thighs?
Yeah, well, yeah. Obviously, I was sending so many. I was tempting so many men and women. I mean, the men and women were flocking to the thighs. So
just to get a,
I find it absolutely fascinating. I find it fascinating and super interesting. And Brandon and Landon kind of grew up with that. But I could also understand, like, when you're a child and you're brought up, I am 5 years old and I've got this Alice Cooper record. Okay, cool. What do you do when you're 21? But if you're older, an older teen or whatever, nearing adulthood, and then you finally get access to this music, I mean, your mind is so much more, I guess, somewhat developed to where you listen to that thing for the first time in a much different manner than you did as a 7-year-old, like yourself, listening to music. So in a lot of ways, it's got to be advantageous, because you're like, after, when you get to a certain point in adulthood, you're like, what the hell do I have to look forward to anymore? I've heard all the good songs. I've seen all the good shows. What the hell? Yeah. So being an adult, being a later teen and getting older, that's got to be super footloose and invigorating.
Yeah, and I think it was. I think it definitely jumpstart it. Like I said, it propelled into the path that you guys have seen, which Magic Valley and Community Inn. It held us to that. So Yeah, man, it's been quite the journey to get back to everything. Like it started very difficult and awkward with the families, but now, I mean, I don't want to marginalize it to this point, but it's like we're now that we've got years and we're making my bills, like, you know, they're like, oh, okay, this is like a legitimate career choice. Not
Yeah.
to say that say, you know, that they're probably super stoked when, you know, they read some of our lyrics, but you know, but I think there's just a mutual respect, and like, I mean, they're cool with it. I would say that would be a great question for them. Maybe Landon and Brandon, when you next time, this will be like episode, you know, that, you know, you get another taste of good tune. They dive deeper into that question better than I can.
I actually just want to ask to your parents, because I think I would be interested to find out if the other parents were like yelling at your parents because you were essentially, you know, leading them into unsafe territory. I wonder what that conversation would have been like.
I mean, maybe there was a season where everybody kind of thought I was the
black sheep
you know,
of the family.
I was the devil, you know, like maybe there was a season. I think that is long past. I think we're if somebody's the devil, we're all the devil. So
Yeah.
it's okay.
Your story about the parents finally understanding what they're doing reminds me of the Geddy Lee thing, where he's talking about like his parents didn't understand what the hell he's doing with his life, and then 40 years later they see him on TV and go, "Oh, you're an entertainer."
Oh, yeah.
That's what you're doing. So,
Oh, you're kind of like Elvis Presley. Oh,
yeah.
That's why there's only 4 strings on that thing, because that guy has 6 strings on his thing.
Hey, speaking of, great segue. So we have a Sandman. That's his name, Sadman. Who wants to know, Tyler, what is your favorite brand and model of acoustic guitar? Probably the one you're playing there. What do you got going?
Well, so this is my baby ride or die. If my house was on fire, this is what I'd grab. I would grab my Alvarez Yari. But I tell you what, man, the ones I enjoy playing the most and that we've used the most in a studio setting and a live setting has been Gibson G45s. They are incredible for our sound, and like they just have the perfect balance. They're not like a Taylor, they're not too much, and they're not like Martin, which is, in my opinion, kind of typically more like bassy. You know, the bass range is Martin, but I think the Gibson sits right in. So yeah, J45. That's probably my favorite acoustic guitar.
It's a good pick.
Thanks, bud. I appreciate it, man. Sandman, there you go, bud. Gibson, is it J45? Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right, there you go, Sandman. Perfect.
I wanted to kind of ask about the ship. So now that you did it, right? You know, after that moment of having that conversation with Josh and the Badflower guys and Alan, and you know whether he was pressured to put you on the ship or not, blah blah blah. However, he followed through, right? You got the offer and you got on the ship. So how did you feel about it all when you first got on the first day? Just tell us about the first day. I don't know if you played the first day of the ship.
First day was you're kind of talking to a little bit of a person that I would say would be biased, because I get wild seasickness.
Oh,
I sometimes I have to sit in the front of the bus or van, like I can't, you know what I'm saying? Like I am a land lover, as seamen would call it. So I was a little worried about that. But the you know, getting on the boat and walking in, I think there was a freaking band playing when we were walking in with all of like our pedal boards and guitars and stuff, and everybody was just really excited to be there, and everyone was getting messed up. So I was like, okay, we're gonna be fine. Like, you know, I didn't know what to expect, you know. So I was surveying the scene, and I was like, we're gonna be fine here. This is gonna be a lot of fun. So we made it to our cabins, and then I would imagine we probably cracked a beer and took in one of the first deck shows, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah, because I mean that Sail Away show in general, like I remember my first time, you know, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? The biggest, I don't know what your crew is like if you had like a tour manager or anybody else like that. I don't know if you were on tour, if you flew in, but if you did have to deal with, this is something we don't talk about a lot. I don't think Justin and I have talked about it with any other band, but being that we are talking about the first time, because it is your first time on the ship, getting your gear sorted in that whole entire process before getting on the ship, I know for us was so like, there was so much anxiety. We didn't know if we were doing it right. We were worried about literally everything. You know, we were told that we couldn't, at that point we were so new, we hadn't even played like festival propers where we like fly dates or whatever. So this is all new to us, not having our own gear for the most part. What was that like when you guys showed up? What was your experience like with that? How did you feel?
I mean, well, I think a little bit of our anxiety. We have a little bit of, a little bit of a crew, a couple of guys that always with us, so it's kind of pay them to deal with that.
Yeah.
We're more worried about. We were watching YouTube videos on how to uncork a bottle of wine and put tequila in it, and then recork without any
adult problems
in it.
One.
And dude, we got it. I got the secret. I'm not gonna tell all you guys.
Let's hear it, man. Come on, dude. Let's hear it.
Dude, there's this big guy. He's big dude, and he's got an awesome accent, and he's got this like 10-12 minute long video. You'll find him, and he shows you how, and it's amazing. You push it through, you empty it out, you take a Kroger bag or like a plastic bag, you stuff it down in there, you blow it up, and that creates enough friction to get the cork out, and then fill it up with your favorite liquor. And you got to have muscles like freaking thumb muscles here. You got to and then you just cork back down.
I didn't even think about that.
And dude, the video is hilarious because he keeps saying, you'll know the video if you watch the one I watched that blew my mind. He keeps going, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, then he takes the cork out and he goes, you know what I'm saying? And so me and all the guys are like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we were more worried about that equipment, getting that equipment on. Our tour manager was more stressed out, running around like crazy, like, oh my God, the amps, whatever, but.
So fucking awesome.
Well, that's the funny thing, because amps, guitars, equipment's always in like aft room 111. You're like, where the fuck's that? I'm like, I don't know. I came across it somewhere. I saw more people's gear, and I'm like, I'm gonna remember that because they don't know where it's at. It's scattered.
Yeah.
But,
it's
what you just recommended. Thankfully, the food and beverage person is not on tonight. So
yeah, no, you guys should not do that. Do not do that. But
fucking hilarious.
If you're going on another cruise,
do it
by all means.
You'll know what I'm talking about. He's gonna say, you know what I'm saying? He's gonna keep the whole video. It's the best. You know what I'm saying?
So then when you got up, because so when you're on it, right? You got on the ship. The whole entire thing's happening. You're seeing the sail away show. The night's coming to a close. You're like, okay, I think I understand what this is. I would assume that your mind was kind of like, okay, I don't know if you played. Did you guys play the first day or no?
No, I don't remember. We had we started.
I seen you in the deck. I mean, in the I forgot the stage. What's it called? The app, whatever it's called. The Eagles.
We did the Eagles Lounge.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what day that was. We did the main deck on, I think maybe the last night, whichever night Hellstorm ran.
Yeah.
We towards the end, I think it was the last full night. We played the main stage around, I think, 6 p.m. And then we did a bingo session, which all you Shiprock guys, I'm the bingo master from now on. If I'm planning, part of the contract is going to be I'm hosting.
That's the thing, me too. It's like bands come on and we ask them to do some pretty, it's not an insane, but it's like, hey man, you guys mind running this trivia or this or that or whatever? And everyone's super game because after the first day, as Chad said, you're locked in, you get it, you understand what it's a community. It's fun. And so to have, Plus, it's advantageous as a band to get involved as much as possible because your name gets out beyond just your music and what you do on stage. And
it was awesome. We just read numbers and made fun of people. It was fantastic. It was the best.
I'll tell you what, it's so funny because we had We Are Band Nerds doing bingo too, like in the theater, and I've never laughed so hard in my life at just how they just quick, and you start getting people's personalities and the band's personalities, and you're going, man, there's just so much more to these artists than just the music, and it's really enlightening and really endearing for a lot of shiprockers, and also, you know, like people like myself. It's great. I'm always, you kind of walk away from it going, man, we made the right choice here. This is great.
Cool. Well, one of my favorite Shiprock memories was I think Al. It might have been Al. It might have been maybe one of you. I don't know. Maybe one of you two guys kind of hooked this up. I don't remember. But we ended up playing. We ended up going into the belly of the ship and playing. I think we played 4 songs, and then we partied our balls off with the crew. We played for the crew in the crew bar. So we just bought a couple acoustics down, and we just we're like, okay, like, you know, we're not really an acoustic band. I mean, I might write some songs on acoustic, but it's like when you see good tune, and you know, we want to present in an electric format. And but there we're just like, okay, walk in, we all had acoustics, and like, okay, everybody's, because the crew lounge, everybody, they need to let loose because like they're working. All the
time about this.
It's like that gypsy from Titanic. They're dancing on tables.
Dude, I know. So we went down there, and they moved the foosball tables and like the back. We just like did like freaking like old school Johnny Cash style up there, and we played 4 songs. And by the second song, we were standing up on chairs and we were hollering between lyrics, and like I was going over like to the you know, like I was going into the crowd because it was, this doesn't, like, not saying it doesn't matter. It's not what I'm saying, but like, it was so free and fun and everybody was having a good time. And it's like, I'm going to go walk out. I'm going to go play acoustic and some people like right in front of them, you know, like, why not? Like it ended up getting, again, pretty inebriated.
You said it right, man.
A little inebriated.
That's such a pinch me moment where you go, you can look back on your life in your career and go, you know, there's a time when we played down the hull of the ship in the middle of the ocean for people from like 40 different nations who were just having the best time, and this was so cinematic.
Yeah.
And
we ended up getting completely dominated at foosball by this Russian girl and this Peru dude who have obviously been playing foosball for 8 months. Yeah, I mean, they just killed us, and like I think the rule was we had to take shots, lost, or I don't know what, or every other point, or I don't know what it was, but they killed us, and it was fantastic. I mean, we had a great time. So.
I'm super jealous. I have never seen this crew bar hangout spot in the.
They say they pick one band a year. I don't know.
Wow, that's even better, dude. So. Did you guys have girlfriends with you or wives, or any of you guys married or anything like that?
I've been with my wife since I was 16 years old.
Oh,
17
wow.
years old.
Man, good for you.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean we've been married like I think 8 years, and I've been with her a total of, I don't know, a long time. But yeah, she came. She came, and then the guys, I think, the guys brought a couple of their ladies, and yeah, we had a good time. It was, you know, the only thing is it's a little odd because it's like a small festival, right?
Right.
And you're floating through the water, and it's like you're kind of juggling as an artist. You're kind of juggling. Okay, well, you know, I got to work. I mean, I got to put a show on. I must entertain, and there's certain things that kind of come along with that, and responsibilities that you know, you just got to be, your mind's got to be right to perform.
Yeah.
Yet you're on this party cruise, and it's like so easy to go just sit at a blackjack table and get, you know, drink tequila, you know, when you probably shouldn't be. So,
Sure.
You know, there's a little bit of juggling for artists, you know, and then you bring your loved ones. And then it's a pure vacation for them. I mean, my wife to our shows, you know, she was like, I've seen you 100 times. I'm good. I'm going to sit at the table and lose $300.
I'm gonna go up to the wife's tanning level and go tan up with all the
Yeah,
other ones.
exactly. I mean, she's on her vacation, so a little bit of juggling, and you have to figure that out. First time, let's just say maybe I personally made a couple mistakes. A couple of you shippers out there might have seen what I might call a loose Tyler on stage. Okay, be
Hey,
better
don't worry,
next
when, he,
time.
when he visits your town, he'll be bolted down. So Tyler, so let me ask you, man. We're talking about Shiprocked, and you had these great interactions where it's very rare, and I know Chad right now is just reading just total jealousy about the whole like going downstairs and Pong or whatever you played with him. What is it? Foosball. Sorry. What?
Yeah.
How was your interaction with the Shiprockers, the people? I mean, because I know a lot of bands go on, they're like, they don't know what to expect. They're like, oh my God, what's going on here? Obviously, a lot of people, Shiprockers, they meet you for the first time. There might be fans, whatever, and then after that, it's so chill. It's like they'll buy a beer, just hey, how are you? Good shot. What was your relationship with like for that week?
I think it was great. I think there was kind of this core group. We're still getting out there. I'm not saying like we're still getting out there. So we had this core group, like 60 to 100 people who was very familiar with our band, that had our records, that was genuinely super excited to see us. And then there was this group of 1,000 people that were willing, that maybe had just heard enough of us or willing to chance on a new band or whatever. But like it was to see it and notice it and say, okay, these are obviously our fans. And then these other people came here because they want to be entertained, it's like, so it's like they want to find their next favorite band. So that was cool. And it made you want to perform at your highest level. It was great. And then afterwards, you'd always see those people, going back to your cabin, or you're going out to have a beer, or you're going to hang out with some of your other friends, like we hung out with Bad Flower a lot. We hung out with Hellstorm guys a lot because Hellstorm lives in Nashville. We know those guys. Me and Joe, I love Joe, incredible guitar player. So we got to hang out with them quite a bit, and it was just cool seeing like the same people that you'd see out, because you look around and you focus on different folks and you see different faces, and then it's really cool to see them at a bar and they recognize you. Hey man, come grab a beer, like it's cool. Like definitely post show. Pre-show can be a little dangerous.
Yeah. Yes, again, it's slippery slope because when you stop,
it's funny.
Loose Tyler was on that stage.
The thing is like with the cruise, it's like we call it a family, and people may like family. I'm like, the truth of the matter is, it really is, because at certain points they just say, hey, come and get a beer. It's that's what you would say to your uncle or your cousin or whoever. Hey, come get a beer with us. But the thing about, you mentioned the 60 to 100 people, and Chad and I have spoken with people prior to this, is that those 60 to 100 people are the kind that show up at your shows in Kansas City or St. Louis or whatever, and they bring friends and they bring the banners and stuff like that. And the cruise has always been really good about building a loyalty. I mean, the loyalty we show to the Shiprockers is the loyalty they show to the bands that come on board, because they're stoked, because you want to be part of their experience that they have every year, and then we all love. And then you become part of the family, and we just keep growing this thing out and out and out and out. So it's really refreshing to hear that those people are like gravitate to you, and it becomes just this kind of familiar thing. And so it's great to hear the stories, man. So thank you so much for being so kind with those people, because they are amazing people, and they are encyclopedias for music, so they know your shit.
Yeah. I was going to segue in. I had one remaining question about this particular subject, and I don't know where you've been since the ship. I don't know, shortly thereafter, obviously we shut down. I don't know if you got the chance to tour or play out yet, post ship until now, or you just went home. Did you?
I think post ship we played. I think we had a handful of shows. We were gearing up for I mean, I think it's official. We just canceled like 50 dates. So we were supporting some bands, and then we were doing our own headlining tour in the United States. Then we're doing a headlining tour in Europe, and that's all gone. We canceled 4 or 5 major festivals in Europe. So the COVID thing just kind of wiped out, hit the reset button. So you know, and that's, hey man, it's happening to everybody. We're on this together. I would never say woe is me ever, you know. So like, you know, there's other bands that have it way worse than we do. Our bands are awesome. We're just making a new record right now. I was not planning on making a record this year, so hopefully by June fans will receive a awesome new record. I don't know when, but it's definitely moved up than what it was because of COVID. So to answer your question, I think we played a handful of shows, man, maybe 3 or 4 after Shiprocked. Like I think
directly after, or like a little bit, like a couple of weeks after or something.
I think it was it's like a week after, or a week or two. I think, I don't know, I don't remember. It's kind of all blurring together. But
the reason why I'm asking is your sea legs. Two reasons. I want to see if you saw that, what Justin was describing, because it's going to be there. You get what you put in with the ship. The ship is a beast, all of it its own. I don't really know how to describe the fans on there other than saying that they're the best. They're the best people, most supportive people, their family, just like Justin said. And you'll see them at your shows, and you'll instantly, like you said, you were looking out from the stage and you saw somebody in the audience later on that night. You saw them at the bar and they bought you a drink or whatever. That will continue to follow you. I used the Donnie Darko version of describing, if you've seen the film, about your future being in front of you or behind you at all time, right? And then but outside of that, because we're not there yet as an industry, beyond that, what did you feel like when you stepped off of that boat for the first time, man? The first 24 hours.
I kissed the ground because, like I said, I have terrible motion sickness. You're asking the wrong guy. No, man, I think it was dope, man. The whole experience was it was fun. The people on it, the people that showed up at the show, and the people meet and greets, the people at bingo, like, dude, it was just a blast. We had a great time. It was I was kind of, you know, sometimes you look around like, I'm getting paid to do this, you know.
Yeah. But you feel weird, like physically as a body? Did your body feel like you were constantly moving side to side? That's how I always feel when I got off the ship.
And when I got off, like the next day, like I was still like in bed. I was kind of going back and forth. I tell you what, dude, I had so much medicine. I had C-bands on. I was taking Bodine. I was taking a patch, that patch thing. Mm-hmm. So I had like been building on.
Dude, you were loaded.
Yeah.
Loaded. So I woke up the morning after. I just like maxed out. I'm like, I'm tired of being sick. I'm maxing everything out. I went to sleep. I woke up and it was the Key West day. So I literally slept in my bunk in the cabin all day because like vertigo is like you have no sense of balance. Like I was literally crawling to like the bathroom and like stuff, putting stuff on. But I fell asleep and everything's great. So it's not bad, you know.
Well, I'm glad you didn't have too bad of a sea legs. My first time, it was like a week after that I was just literally sick, and I was having a good time, but we had to go on tour. We went from ship to back in the van and go play shows. And like for a week, I was like, oh, I feel like I'm playing sideways the entire time.
To kind of coincide with that, we have a question from Carissa, Ship Rocker. She wants to know, Tyler, when you guys are on tour, what's your favorite city to play?
Question. Well, we always have a great time in Texas.
What city would that be?
Goddamn state, right?
The whole damn state, yeah.
The gas. I think it's the gas monkey in Dallas.
In Dallas, yeah.
Awesome. They always treat us really well. I mean, man, Austin is rad. We do great in like Indianapolis. Our hometown is always awesome. We always have a great time here. Man, to be on one of the best shows, one of the best has been Minneapolis. Knew How to Get Down. Like that was one of our first shows when we just released the EP, and maybe Chad, you can talk to this. Like it was one of the first shows where we had like 100 to 150 people show up that knew who we were, they knew the songs, and I don't know, like that feeling of, so I have this romantic thing about Minneapolis that it's like those people get it, like they always got it,
Yeah.
and it might just been the timing of the EP or whatever, but like that was so I have this romantic thing with Minneapolis that it was just it was awesome. So we played a little rock club there with Bad Flower, and it was so much fun.
Dude, that city is amazing. It's just like a great music town. They have a music college. It's always bumping. They have great rooms, a great rich history of independent music too. Prince.
Sure.
That's a great space to be. Yeah, that romantic feeling though, man. It could be anywhere. It could be. There was our first show, I think, from Wilson outside of Michigan, where like 2 people showed up that knew who we were, and
Right.
it was like bum town. I think it was Terre Haute. It's Terre Haute, Indiana, actually. And what, dude? We love Terre Haute. And Terre Haute's an awful place, but for that, for like, it's great. Yeah.
So, world, can you mention Minneapolis and forget the Replacements or Husker Du?
Oh, Husky. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm
crippled. I am now crippled.
So I would say a more very concise answer is I would say my favorite place to play right now in this moment in my life is Hamburg, Germany.
Oh my God.
We've been there
multiple times. They're playing Hamburg.
And so one of my favorite musical memories ever in this whole career I've had, this ups and downs and lefts and rights, and is we were playing and we went into Darlin, and Hamburg it was a sold out crowd. It was in this little basement. There was a couple hundred people there. It was packed. It was sweaty. It was hot. It was awesome. And so we get through playing. Like typically, we kind of juice the set in the beginning. We're gonna hit you with 3, 4, 5 songs that's hot in the beginning. And that hopefully creates space for a down song to give people a breath.
Yeah.
And here comes Darlin', right?
Mm.
And Landon steps up, starts singing it. The crowd is so loud singing Darlin' that he can't hear him. They're coming through his mic, so he can't hear himself really. So he gets the bright idea. He just like turns it around. He steps on the front of the stage and he just sits and sings it with them. And it was one of my favorite moments, like just to hear a unison crowd singing your lyrics.
Yeah.
And it being very special. And there's a connection there. So yeah, got a shout out to my Hamburg folk.
What doesn't think of, obviously when we think of Hamburg and music, we think of the Beatles doing the 8:45-minute sets for how long, because they were hooked on speed. But
at the strip,
that kind of reaction, like the Germans, they give all. So yeah, that's interesting. Thank you.
I'm trying to find that room. I think I know the room that you played.
Yeah.
I played that room.
It's a 3-tier right there.
Yeah.
It's definitely a 2-tier. I think it's a 3-tier.
Yeah.
Small, medium, large.
I thought you were going to talk about the red light district for some after. You're like, it's great because afterwards we went to the red light district in Hamburg.
Hey, with the red light, great. No.
The place is great though. Hamburg's awesome.
Yeah, they always show up for.
So let me ask you, going forward here, this has been an absolute great discussion so far. Going forward, obviously we don't know what the state of things are as far as touring, but music, you guys are working on some new material.
Yep.
And obviously it's too early to say when it's going to see the light of day, but is there something you guys may put out before the end of the year, just a single or something for people?
I mean, we're listening to mixes right now of a couple songs, so I would say that's definitely within the realm of possibility. It's not. I don't know, man. You know how it is.
Sure.
Cycles and like I definitely think we're we'll see. I hope so. I want to. So I want to put something out. I would put something out in the next 90 days, but that's not, what I'm saying. I don't know. We're working hard. We're in the beginning phases of a record. We got a couple songs in. Everything's feeling great. Sound super excited. It's brand new. incredible, in my opinion, the best stuff we've ever done by far, in my opinion. But so I'm super excited about it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, I mean, Community Inn is still fresh on a lot of people's of minds. So, but obviously for a band, when you and we put that out last year, we're miles ahead of that at this point. So, yeah. But Chad, did you have anything? You given us an hour of your time tonight, Tyler. We couldn't have been more appreciative, man. Thank you so much. Chad, do you have anything to add before we see Tyler living back to his night?
I was going to ask, the last question I was going to ask is, what's your favorite beer, man?
Well, I usually say I love cheap, terrible beer. So I can dive down in the Natty Busch Light and be pretty happy. I thought in the spirit of this evening, I got, that's what I was drinking on Shiprock, so I was like, thought I'd have a couple.
I thought you were going to go somewhere else with it. Hey, do you like whiskey? Do you drink whiskey at all?
Man, I can. If it messes you up, I can drink. I would say I love Jameson. Jameson is wonderful. Like I love Jameson 12 year. They don't make it anymore, but I have a couple bottles of Jameson 12. It's my absolute favorite. Tequila, whatever, man. I'm easy.
Some friends of mine turned me on to this Screwball, and I'm finally. I saved this last until today. I saved this last shot of it to cheers.
Beautiful devil.
I drank it all down. It's so delicious. It is a peanut butter whiskey, and you think at first like, well, that's going to taste weird. And I've been sipping and nipping on this entire quarantine, and I finally got to the last drink, and I wanted to cheers you guys and tell you thanks for your time, and it's been a pleasure, dude. And I love your band, and I'm just thankful to be here with you all today, man. Thanks for telling us some great stories too, dude.
Oh man, thanks. That was bad.
Yeah, I already drank all my Patron, so I can't toast you, but I can tell people in Shiprock to say, guys, if you're looking for some good, little bit of blues, a little bit of rock, if you guys grew up on Aerosmith and Black Crowes, and I think you may want to check out Goodbye June if you're not familiar with them. I said they're along with Dirty Honey, Rival Sons, Kings of Leon, obviously, and then Greta Van Fleet. They are the next generation of pure rock and roll, organic, knuckles on the ground kind of stuff. So make sure and check them out. Community Inn's their latest record. Tyler, do you have any places you want to send people for pickup music or maybe some merch from the band?
I mean, just Google Machinist. You want to, whatever, man. Like, we're on Spotify, we're on Apple. However you consume music, we're out there. Man, just whatever you want to do. Check out Wilson. Check out Wilson too. That band. Check out that guy.
Well, cheers, man. Thanks for being a part of this. I wanted to say. I got
a little bit left.
All right, well, appreciate it, man.
Everyone, real quick, some housekeeping. We obviously have very few cabins left for 2021, so make sure and go to shiprock.com to secure a cabin. And if you got some friends that are interested, please, by all means, mention it as well. As we say, you want to be waving from the ship and not the shore as we leave in 2021. Again, thank you, Tyler, and obviously Goodbye June for giving us your Tuesday night. Make sure and check them out, guys. And well, I guess that's about it for this Tuesday. Everyone have a great rest of your week. Tyler, again, thank you, my brother. Best to you. Chad.
Hey, love you.
Next time, bro. Next time. Thank you, Rockers. Thank you for all your comments, and we'll touch base soon.